So I'll just give a bit of a preview of that, of the complex objects with this hat, and then we'll just go just more into it in the next section. But this is sort of the end of that first section. It's just sort of getting used to your move, scale, and rotate, and just manipulating around in the viewport. So two more before I go into that sort of preview. One last thing I want to do or sort of show is File, Save Scene As. Very important. Maya will crash on you. You do want to save. I usually recommend, let's see, maybe I'll go into a project here. Let's see. Inside of a project, I'll usually create a folder for scenes, and I'll drop it inside of my scene here. You can even use Maya to create a project for you. So you could do set project. It'll create a project for you and put a lot of stuff in there. So then if you render files, it'll drop them right into the project for you. I sort of tend to do some of this myself just because I want some different stuff. So like I'll keep in here, you can see here my texture, sculpts, if I'm taking screen captures of stuff, if I'm concepting stuff, transfer like FBX files. These allow me to transfer to game engines and things like that. Maps I might have, or Unity files. Maps is usually more for UDK stuff, and here's some of my Unity files. So I do try and keep things somewhat organized, and usually I'll make a scene file and I will put scenes in here, and here you can also see, like say I put snowman, I might put snowman 1. Over time, if I make a lot of modifications to the file, I will self-iterate. So I'll over time I may save it as something else and just put another number onto it. That allows me, it's saving the files for me, it's creating backups for me, and it allows me to access earlier versions of stuff before I may have made a change that I can't go back on. So you can see some of that in here, just assets 1, assets 2, character 1, 2, 3, environment set 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I sort of do some of this stuff a lot. And then you just hit save. And just as sort of a side note, ASCII will sort of allow you, it'll give you some options to switch between versions at times, which you may run into problems with if you're on multiple computers. Running different versions of Maya may give you some issues with viewing things in the viewport. ASCII can sometimes allow you to get past those because you can edit what the version is in Notepad or WordPad. Binary will not give you that option, but if you are, say, uploading a finalized file, it may make it smaller for you. For now, just ASCII is fine. And then you just want to hit Save As. Okay, so now that we've sort of gone through that, let's make this hat. So let's start with a cylinder. Just going to scale this a little bit. Scale it down. Hit W to move. And so we want to make a hat. So we sort of have the base of the hat right here. And what I need is the top part of this. But I don't have the geometry necessary to do that. So if I make this the long part, then where does my short part come in? And if this is my short part, where is the long part? You might say to yourself, well, I'll just duplicate this. I'll scale it in, and I'll have something like that. But then you do have separate objects, and I want to make a singular complex object. If you have a hat and it's inside of something like Team Fortress 2, it's probably not built with two separate things in that sort of fashion, and the same goes with like characters. You know, we need to have the ability to create some more complex shapes that maintain one solid piece of geometry. So we have tools to manipulate our current geometry and give us more geometry. Two of those, the two big ones are an edge tool, so we can put in edges, and now I have the ability to scale on an edge and give myself some more geometry. I'm going to Z back on that. And the other thing I can do is extrude. So I'm going to go over to my channel box here, and I am going to put on my subdivision cap a 2 here. And I'm sort of getting way ahead of myself here, but I'll give sort of a brief, I'll go over this in more detail in the next one, but just a brief view of objects in Maya. So whenever I have this cube and I'm moving this cube, this is one whole object. If I right click and hold, it allows me to add subdivision parts of this cube. So this cube is made up of edges, which are the green lines are, faces, which is all this space in between the edges, and verts, which are the dots in between the edges. And if I right click, we can see some of those. So I can see my edges here, I can select them, and I can actually even manipulate them if I want. I have verts. These are my pink dots here. Here's another hotkey for you as well, is if you hit F you can frame. So I can jump in to check out that vert. A will pull me back out. A is in apple. F is in Fred. We'll zoom in. And so we have edges, verts, and faces. And those are sort of the three components that will make up an entire object. I'm going to delete that. So by putting a cap on this cylinder, just added an edge loop here. I can select that, I can hit R to scale it, just double clicked to have that go around. I can then scale that up a little bit. I can right click here to go to my face mode, and then I'm going to select some of these faces. By hitting shift again, I can select multiple faces. Now if I just tried to move this by hitting W and then moving, you can see it's still not quite the shape that I want. I want this this hat. So it looks, oops, something sort of like that. I want a tight line there. I don't want that to go up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this drop down box that I mentioned right in the very beginning and go to polygons. This is going to allow me to access some more options here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to edit mesh, extrude. I'm going to click that. I have a new manipulator here. This is a very tricky manipulator. Right now I have what's called faces sitting on top of faces, and if I click off of this, that will still be in existence. But what I want to do is I want to make sure, it's very important, that I pull up here, and that will give me my added geometry to make this hat. There's a lot more to sort of go into detail about what just happened, and we'll sort of go into that in the next one. But that's just sort of a very quick preview of creating more complex geometry. So, the extrude tool. And the other big one is the insert edge loop tool. If I wanted to maybe be a little bit fancy, do something like that. Cool. So there's my snowman. Hopefully it looks cool. I will come back and I will do a part 2. We'll get into some more of that complex geometry. Alright, hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, just leave me a note or drop me a message or something like that. Talk to you guys later. Bye.